WMC Memphis, WMFS HD2 Bartlett Memphis, ESPN 790 AM with Colin Coward and The Herd, weekday mornings from 9 a.m. till noon.
Watch the sunrise, new day's dawning, and it's calling you and me, where the mighty Mississippi flows by Memphis, Tennessee. We've got woodlands, fields, and water. Hey, there is no better way. You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Make some time, take a family, ask a friend, but don't delay. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Gaston's White River Resort, and Barton Power Sports. Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Okay, you know that when we have Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 here in Memphis, we always try to have varied guests, and we try to break them down into segments, and we've been doing this in our 14th year. But we've got a special guest on with us this morning on Outdoors with Larry Ray, and Kathy Gwinn from right in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And you folks know that I was at Wilderness Wildlife Week, the 25th annual one, recently. And first of all, good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Glad to have you. Get on close to this microphone up there. She's got such a
morning.
sweet voice on this Saturday morning. So you truck drivers driving down I-55 say, "What's Larry got on there? He does not have some gruff trapper or somebody like that." Well, look, I've got a lady that loves the Smoky Mountains like we do. I just wish we were as close as she is to come over here. But she did a presentation I had a chance to sit in on, really talking about vocabulary. Words have changed over the years, different things that she has really broke. I didn't know why people wore wigs back in those days, and everything. I didn't know that. But Kathy does a program and has done a program here for 6 or 7 years at Wilderness Wildlife.
This was the seventh year.
Seventh year that you've done it. And so tell my listeners out there a little bit about your background, because I know that she has I'm just going to sit back and let Kathy tell you how she got here at Pigeon Forge, how she came from North Dakota, and the story she's got. You don't want to hear me. You want to hear what Kathy is going to tell you. Tell my listeners out there, Kathy, a little bit about yourself and how you got to be where you are.
Okay, well, I'll try to do that. As you mentioned, I'm not originally from Tennessee, but I got here as fast as I could. And I started reading in the prairie of North Dakota when I was in the 3rd grade. Anything I could get my hands on that talked about the mountain people and their old-timey ways, their traditions, their words, things like that. And it was like there was something in my spirit. I'd never been here, never seen it, but there was something in my spirit that just yearned to come and experience and see these beautiful, beautiful mountains. All I can explain it is like a beckoning, and I never could get used to the cold, the terrain, the weather in North Dakota. And I always tell people, sort of laughingly, but there's a reason they call it the plains.
That's right.
It's flat, very, very few trees, and when I was growing up, we used to say you could look to the west and see what the weather was doing in Montana.
Oh, my goodness. And that's where you met your husband?
Yes.
On a youth trip, you said. So tell our listeners about that and how both of y'all got down here and everything.
Well, I was in the central part of North Dakota, Bismarck, where the capital city is.
Okay.
And he my first husband, Dave, was in Fargo on the eastern end of the
two
state.
big cities in the
Yeah.
Dakotas here. Okay.
A whopping like 40,000
That's
and
all right.
about
Okay.
70,000.
Okay.
You know, we're one of the few states where we have more cows than people.
Oh, that's a whole
All
other
right.
story. Yes.
No.
So y'all
But
met.
We met at the youth group when we were in our teens, and we were just friends for about 2 years. And in the course of developing the friendship, we would talk about our interests and things we like to read, like to do, places we like to go. And here it turned out that both of us had an absolute love for Tennessee, East Tennessee in particular, and these mountains, and just learning about the ways, the culture and customs of the mountain people. And it just intrigued us, but we had never been here. And when we met and realized we had this in common as a bond, it was almost, for me, the Lord's way of saying, my plans for you are not just good, they're perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Because no one but the Lord could have done that. So we were married in 1982. We continued to live and work. We had a business in the Dakotas, in Bismarck, the capital city. My husband then, Dave, was a locksmith, and I was a school teacher. But we never let go of the dream. To someday, we were vacationing here 2 times a year. And it was always in our hearts to move
How
here
many
permanently.
miles is that?
It's 1,500 miles each way.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Makes me feel a lot easier.
Yeah.
423 miles to Memphis, but anyway, go ahead.
In about a 2.5-day trip, you could do it. And anyway, so never let go of that dream, but we had to sell our business there. And then my mother was very, very sick. She had cancer, and I just knew I had to be with her and see her through to the end. And I'll never forget, before she died, one day she said to me, Kathy, you can go to Tennessee, but you need to wait till I'm gone. And I promised her I would. And so we moved here in 99.
Okay.
We were here almost 2 years. It was just before 9/11, and my husband Dave passed away. And at that point, many people thought I would go back to North Dakota. We'd been in the process of building a home, and I just thought, this is the place I've always dreamed and wanted to be. And with God's help, I'm going to try. I knew I couldn't do it on my own, but I know that God gives grace only on dying days sometimes.
Because your family, you said, had spent about a week here with you after Dave passed away, and tried to get you to go back to the Dakotas, and then they realized that you really, this is where you wanted to be.
Exactly. There is something, I tell people, I'm a tour guide in the national park, and I often start every tour by asking, how many of you are coming to the Smokies for the very first time? And those that raise their hands, I will tell them, it's going to get under your skin.
Yes.
It really will, because once they make the first trip, there's just something that keeps calling you back. It's just very spiritual. There's just a reverence of nature, of God, that just calls people back to this area. And that's how we felt. And I knew that this is where I would want to be. And so I had good people I worked for, a strong church family, and I was doing something in the mountains I love doing. And so the combination of those factors made me want to stay, and I've been here ever since.
And you have found another mate
Yes.
to walk through life with you. Tell us about that. I mean,
Yes, Mike is a wonderful, wonderful Christian man, and I am so blessed. Once again, the Lord brought us together, and he loves to sing. He is very, very musical, and we do something together. We do music and storytelling. It's called Hills and Hollers, and we travel all over. If I do a song, or if he does a song, let's say about Dolly, then I'll do a Dolly story.
Okay.
If he does a song about moonshine, I'll tell a story about moonshine. So we work together back and forth like that, and it's worked out very good.
and if you think they've got a real terrible location to live, She told me that her husband is the worship leader at Wares Valley Baptist Church, and I know a lot of my listeners out there say, "Man, I'm going over there to join," because there can't be any more beautiful spot than Wares Valley. So
the mountains surrounding that cove, it's absolutely beautiful. It's just so gorgeous. I say that there's color all the time, you know.
Yes, there is.
In the fall, you come here in the springtime, 16 shades of green.
16 shades of green.
In the
Golly, can you just open the doors and worship? Because you
do.
feel like you're right there with God when you do that. And I know that's an amazing thing. And when I heard Kathy's presentation, which we're going to talk about a little bit in another segment about what she talked about and things like that, I wanted to hear her what I call personal testimony up here, because you folks know out there, because I go to 9 wild game dinners every year and hear those kind of stories, and it kind of gives me goosebumps to hear her story. And this is just, we're just in casual conversation and learn these things about each other, to know what she went through, and to have where you are right now, the love of the mountains and the teacher background. When we drive from Tennessee, when we drive from Memphis 423 miles, and we can go quicker to Washington than we can go back home, we know we've come a long way, but not 1,500 miles. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790.
You can find